Today on Subrogation, we're going to discuss the Family Car Doctrine. Now, this establishes owner liability when a family car is operated negligently by a household member and causes damages in an accident. This is a type of vicarious liability where a principal-agent relationship is imputed between the owner of the car and any household member or driver when the vehicle is made available for the pleasure of the family. So why does this doctrine exist? Some states say that an owner has a legal or moral obligation to support the household family members that are causing injuries by driving the vehicle. And other states say, hey, a car is a dangerous instrument, and anytime a car is negligently operated, an owner should be liable when they entrust somebody else to drive it. Like any legal doctrine, there are elements to the Family Car Doctrine that need to be met. They are: 1, the head of the household must own, provide, or maintain an automobile for the purpose of providing pleasure or comfort for the family. 2, the family purpose driver must have been using the motor vehicle at the time of the injury in furtherance of that purpose. 3, the owner knew of and provided either expressed or implied consent to the household member's use of the car. And 4, the family purpose driver must be a member of the owner's household, in some states under the immediate direction thereof. There are some states that specifically reject this doctrine, like Texas and Louisiana, but there are 13 states that recognize this, like California and Tennessee. For the states that do recognize it, it can be very liberally applied. For example, the owner can't avoid liability by being willfully ignorant. So they can't just claim, well, I didn't know they took the car. If that car is made available for the family to use, then the owner saying they weren't aware that it was being driven at that time doesn't count and avoid their liability. Interestingly, even though it's the Family Car Doctrine, you don't have to be a family member driver in order for the owner to be held liable. It's as long as it's a household member, that's generally what's required in order to impute liability to the owner. Now, there are some states that require the driver to be on some sort of an errand for the owner, like maybe running to the grocery store and picking something up. But there are other states that don't require that type of errand to be in place when the driver goes out and causes an accident. Now, some states will limit the liability at the age of 18. So it's for minors that are household members that are drivers in order to hold the owner liable. But there are some states that will say you can still apply the Family Car Doctrine when the driver is over 18 as long as they're still a legal dependent. So, for example, a student in college that's home for the summer, if they were driving the family car, then liability could be imputed to the owner under those circumstances. And some states are very liberal about this because even if it was a car that was purchased for commercial reasons and is even used for commercial purposes, sometimes they'll apply the Family Car Doctrine if the car is permitted to be used for family purposes, and of course it was at the time of that accident. Now, there are many policies that will limit this doctrine by making all the ages of household members be disclosed under the policy and potentially even listing drivers, especially teenagers, as excluded drivers under the policy. So if I was a claims adjuster investigating a vehicle loss, there's some things I would look for when trying to apply the Family Car Doctrine. One would be the policy language. Are there parties that are specifically excluded in that policy? And then that might make the Family Car Doctrine go away. Ask who lives in the household, because it could be that the owner of the vehicle, even if they're not related to the driver, live in the same household, then you might be able to apply the Family Car Doctrine. I'd ask why the car is being used at the time. if it happened to be an errand on behalf of the owner of the car, then even in those states that are more strict with their interpretation of the Family Car Doctrine, you'd be able to apply this. And don't assume that just because the driver is an adult, that there isn't some sort of liability for the owner, because again, if the driver is a legal dependent of the owner, you'll still be able to hold the owner responsible for the negligent operation of the driver. This might provide an additional party for you to recoup losses from when handling a subrogation claim. So think about the Family Car Doctrine whenever you're investigating a loss. I hope this has helped you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Rathbone. That's the long and short of it.